13 is a brand founded for the creators, the innovators, and the motivators, for the people who get up every single day and strive to be better and leave a positive mark on this world. 13 is a fantastic clothing company, and the people that are behind it are passionate, creative, and some of the nicest people I have ever met. All of their stuff looks great, it's comfy, all the designs are so super cool. 13 has some of my favorite t-shirts and seriously my favorite pair of sweatpants I have ever worn. 13 has been a long-time sponsor and supporter of the Cory Cast, and they wanted to extend their love to you, the listener. So when you check out their website at thur13en.com, fill your cart with some cool hats, hoodies, sweatpants. Just make sure you use the code word CoryCast at checkout and you're going to save yourself a little bit of money. thur13en.com. Make sure you tell them Cory sent you. Today's guest is Brewmaster Garrett Meakin, the owner of Grow Brewing Company. He just started this company over the past year and has taken a really unique marketing strategy towards his beer. He has learned a lot of his trade from the current place that he's at right now, and he's juggling both positions. Very, very cool that his current job allows him to also grow a company that he's really invested in, a company that he started from the ground up. Garrett's been a brewmaster for quite some time and is putting together wonderful, delicious beers, and you need to check them out. They're called Grow Brewing Company. If you want to see if they hit up your neck of the woods, you can check out their website at growbrewingco.com. I'll put the link in the show description so you could check them out and show them some love. I will tell you what, I think Garrett's unique marketing strategy, where he works with various local artists and finds a flavor that's inspired by the artwork they produce, is really cool and really interesting. And one of the reasons I have always enjoyed Garrett's company, he's a kind of person who thinks outside the box and is extremely creative and very talented. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope you learn a little bit on how to make beer and how cool it is and how much goes involved in it. I know I learned so much from talking with Garrett. Okay, so Garrett Meakin, we were friends in college, and then after college, we kind of lost contact with each other. But Here you are, through the powers of Facebook, still able to at least stay connected in some shape or form. You know,
of course, yeah.
I am so impressed that you're running your own brewing company now.
Yeah, well, it's been a trip, that's for sure. It's a brewing company inside of a brewing company. So I also full-time brew for Three Brothers Winery, but I own Grow Brewing Co. as a separate brand that is more nomadic. So it's 100% distribution. It's a family business, so my wife runs it with me. My father does all the distribution. We don't have a tasting room, so we only do pop-up events. I can do these one-day permits at places that don't have alcohol and kind of do like these pop-up tasting room kind of things that have been pretty interesting. And then we've just been building the brand over the past year. You know, we launched like March 21st. So I'm doing Three Brothers stuff for 40 hours, Grow stuff for 40 hours. And then we got a 1-year-old at home. So it's good times.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, now you're a dad too. Like this, it's so crazy. I really, some people really hate on social media, but I love the fact that it affords me the opportunity to stay in touch with someone, like people I genuinely like. Like I genuinely like you, Garrett, but we just shit happens and life happens and we just lost touch with each other,
Yeah. I mean, I bailed on college, so it was kind of hard to stay connected with that point, because that's really where we met and everything, So.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need it though. Look at you now, like thriving, making your own beer and stuff.
There you go. I appreciate that.
How did you get into this career?
So I started as a hobbyist. You know, a lot of people in brewing will tell you the same thing. They were a home brewer first. I got in basically scrubbing kegs to another brewery about 9 years ago now, a little over 9 years. Scrubbing mold from the bottom of tanks, you know, low ranks. So I left college, went into a manufacturing job, did not like that, but learned a lot about manufacturing and production, which was extremely helpful for this career. And then met my wife, then girlfriend, now wife, at another brewery, and really started to get involved with that kind of culture. Just being able to like get into a tasting room and talk to people and all bond over one thing. You know, we call it social lubrication. And it's, you talk to so many different people about so many different ideas and stuff. And the one common denominator that you have those conversations with is you're doing it over a beer, which I always thought was really cool. Yeah. So, I wanted to be able to make that kind of stuff. At first it started, it was just like, make it as cheap as you can because it seems so expensive compared to drinking Keystone Light at Onondaga Community College. So I thought I could do it better. I kind of did it better. You know, I drank my mistakes. So I got pretty good quick at it, you know, didn't make it again, which is cool. And then here we are.
Now, what is the difference between a craft beer versus like a Bud Light that's like, is it just the sheer amount of how like mass produced it is?
Yeah, it is like the scale that it's produced at. So I think after 1 million barrels a year, so a barrel is like 31 gallons, right? So after 1 million a year, 100,000, it's some outlandish number, then you're no longer considered craft. You're like a macro brewery, which are like the big four guys. It's SAB, Miller Coors, Anheuser-Busch, which I think they have a merger still going on. That's kind of a wishy-washy thing. And then, you know, the guys that own Corona, those big brands. Everyone else is really considered craft. So even Yingling is like the oldest craft brewery, but it's still huge, you know, as far as it goes. So
it's a massive place.
It's huge. Yeah. So it starts, there's a bunch of different kind of subcultures of it. There's like nano breweries, there's brew pubs, and it's all kind of divisions, but they're below that. It's all considered craft with that 1 million. Wow. So it's like 50 barrels, 250, 1,000, 10,000. They have these different kind of, I don't know, categories,
benchmarks or whatever, like points are hitting. So this has all just been from you getting into the industry and like kind of teaching yourself how to make beer?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow. Jesus.
This is like late nights, you know, learning about water chemistry, the stuff that people don't want to read about. For whatever reason, my like lizard brain was super interested in. So I was like, yeah, I'm diving all in this. And it's really helped. I've won a couple of gold medals through the state, a couple nationally. We've really like kind of done everything we can to make sure that this career for me is like prominent, you know? And I don't think we ever saw like the success of Grow coming from what we were doing at Good Nature or even through Warhorse. But it's really been, you know, incredible. And
what do you think attributes to the success of Grow? Has it been just like a different approach to how you market and stuff?
Oh, the entire thing. Yeah. So my entire thing was I'd never had a brand of my own. So like when I make a label or whatever, because I do a lot of the art or at least help with a lot of the art, it's all very tattoo based. It's all very authentic where like when you meet us at these pop-up events or see our social media or whatever, it's us, you know, it's a representation of us. And I think that like legitimacy really has helped propel it forward.
Right. Yeah. And it's just a sense of like genuineness with your beer. I haven't had it yet because you guys do random pop-ups. Do you guys ever come out to Syracuse?
So we distribute, if you go to our website, I'm going to do a shameless plug, www.growbrewingco.com. There's actually a Find Our Beer section, and it lists by region, like every place that carries us. And then on the front page, there you go.
Find our products.
Yep.
I had the website ready.
There you go. So we'll have our pop-up events first and foremost. So we're going to be at that horticulture building on November 11th through 13th, selling some cans and doing pop-ups. And then below that is also every place by region. So we do, it's almost 140 stores that we're up to now.
Whoa.
It's kind of tough to read. We got to do a design or a redesign at this point, but it's a good like source. So if you're in Syracuse, you can see the places.
Yeah. Wow, that's
And
cool.
it's all the big hitters, like Kitty Hoynes, Apiza, Reginal, um, all the places that you're gonna drink craft beer and like craft cocktails at. We're pretty much there. So
Whoa. And how did you like make these connections with these places? Is it just by going in and being like, "Hey, try some of our beer"?
partly, yeah. I mean, I definitely called in some favors too. Like after being in the industry for a couple of years, and the funny thing about it is the hardcore scene. You'd be shocked at how many people went into food service and all these kind of things. So it's all people we've been friends with for a really long time. So
Right.
for them, it's been 9 years of, oh yeah, as soon as you have your own thing, we'll put you on draft. And finally it came around. It's like, all right, guys, you put me on
Yeah.
draft.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I love that it's still
Network,
like,
dude, it's
yeah,
wild. It's wild.
yeah. The connections that you made back when you were throwing windmills at a
Yeah,
Runer show, you know what I mean, is
still
now,
do, still do, baby.
yeah, still do, baby.
Heading to Buffalo next month for 4 years
Yeah.
strong. Let's go.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, don't even get me started. I was just listening. The 4 Year Strong just released a re-recorded the Enemy of the World CD.
Yeah,
Oh, so good,
yeah.
dude. It's so good.
Yeah,
Oh,
but that's another part of the brand too. Like it is also interconnected with Grow, and we wanted it to be like that. So it
yeah,
was all just like I don't know. It was easy to plug everything in because we already had this network of people and places that we were going to pop up at, and this idea, and then the Grow word, like plants and everything. It all stemmed from COVID coming out of that. The
right,
entire brand idea, because if you pop up and you don't have a tasting room, you can't get locked down, right? Like
right.
that was really the big idea. And
Wow.
my wife was pregnant, the whole thing, just like it all ended up coming together.
That's a cool approach though. Like that was just like, hey, well, listen, we this way when we do it this way, we don't get shut down, and it lets us have opportunities where we could literally, you guys could just travel and go to different spots and
Exactly, wherever there
show
isn't
people.
hotspots. Yeah, because my wife was working in the brewery and she was laid off in the tasting room because it was just there was no one that can come around. Even with the curbside stuff at the time, it was not effective. It
Yeah,
was a tough time for the restaurant industry. It still hasn't gotten back
yeah,
um, to where
definitely different.
yeah, for sure.
Um, and so when you are creating all these craft beers, because you guys have like a pretty cool selection,
Yeah.
how do you figure out what beer you want to make next, or like what flavors that you produce?
So it's actually kind of cool. I use a lot of rotating artists. So it all starts off the art. Everything
I'm
hinges
gonna
off the art. A
I'm
lot of
gonna
them are
show
like,
this too
yeah,
because these
yeah.
cans are fucking awesome.
Thank you, thank you. We work hard at them. So a lot of them are actually from like tattooer friends. What I do is I'll send them kind of like an idea, and whatever they send me back, they send me like a line drawing, just like they would if you were drawing a tattoo for someone. And
Yeah,
then myself and my other graphic artist, who's also named Garrett, go through, colorize it, texturize it, like bring it to life. And whatever their idea is for that kind of beer with whatever they send back is kind of what I'll mess around with the recipe to kind of emulate that. So if it's
whoa,
like, yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can change like all the hop qualities. You can make something like a little bit spicier or a little bit like darker, have a different kind of tenor to the beer, which then whatever you'd be doing. But I do try and base it off of the art first. So which
wow.
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Like a very unique approach to it, because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like usually it's we make the flavor and then we design the label around that, right? It's kind of flip flopped.
100%. But it's so marketing based though in the beer industry. Like if you go to Wegmans, any Wegmans, which we are not in Wegmans, so don't look for Grow at Wegmans, but go there and look at the amount of SKUs and different breweries and stuff on the shelves. There's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beers out there. So
Right.
you really need to set yourself apart through your marketing and through, what you're putting on your labels and really being distinct and deliberate with what you're trying to portray. So with my thought, it was like, well, I know so many artistic people, so many tattooers. Like, I want that to be part of the entire brand. Let's let them kind of take the forefront and then we'll build it after. and
Wow.
it's worked. It's been really cool.
That's really cool. It also allows you to like support some of your friends and a
Yeah,
completely different like artistic scene.
we put the Instagram handles on all the cans of whatever artists that we had. We tag them in all our Instagram posts, and we try and push as much like collaborative, growth. The whole grow idea was really based on like growing small business and our friends' businesses, and being able to do what we can to like help out systematically in that regard. So yeah,
Yeah, it's really cool. You guys do have like a like a when I say brand, sometimes it's a very like wide casting net, but you guys have like a personality
yeah,
with your stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Is it because like you and your wife like had a calculated approach, or was it more just like it kind of like steamrolled into like one beer after another, and then we're like, oh, kind of, this looks great.
we knew we knew like vague ideas, so
Yeah.
like when we started thriving, that one that you pulled up first was like the first beer we are going to do, and I thought it would be really cool if it was like a pot that had plants on the top, and that's just like the first thing. And then it all started becoming like different kind of pots and stuff, just like on a shelf it would be like plants lined up. And then we started taking the tattoo art and stuff and really involving that, and it just totally morphed off of that. And it does have a personality of its own, and it's all very, very like handmade. Everything you do, or everything we do, is all handmade. So even like our tap handles, when you go into a place, like my dad is cutting down wood, we're sanding it, we're
Oh my
branding
god.
it, we're putting a little like flower pot and a fake plant in the top, and then epoxy coating it all so that it like is, it's drip proof essentially.
That's
Yeah.
so I love that it's like a family business too. Like your
Oh,
dad's involved.
it's honestly, we joke sometimes, but it feels like foretold in this weird
Yeah.
way, because like, I was very production based, very I want to be, even when at college when I was doing the video and the stuff, I wanted to be behind the camera. I didn't want to be in front of the camera. My wife has always been very retail oriented. She's very outgoing, has that personality. My dad has been in sales for 30 years, and he's been miserable at selling manufacturing stuffs, but loves craft beer. And then my mom has done accounting for 30 years. So like every part of the business all just was like, we could
Wow.
probably make this work. Yeah.
Wow. And that just goes back to it's like it's almost like you have the right people in each position with like their different personalities that affect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not going to kid you. It's very difficult to work with your family.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I bet. Listen, I love my dad very much, but working with him would be a totally different dynamic. You know,
Oh
say
yeah.
working with my mom would be a totally different dynamic to our relationship. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It
do you
totally
guys
changed.
have like family meetings on who's doing what?
We do. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have company meetings. We also employ a few people, another salesperson as well as designer now. Um, so it's
Wow.
getting to be like more spread out than just the family thing, which is
Yeah.
good. But
Is that
it's
scary? Is that
it's
scary for
terrifying.
you?
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the geopolitical nature and like the economy, all that stuff. I don't worry. We actually were having this conversation 2 nights ago. I really don't worry about our business. I think we're all very well versed in our abilities and capabilities, you know,
Mhm.
but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I mean, we don't know. Like those are the things that are terrifying, but it's terrifying to everyone who's a small business owner.
Yeah.
So like
Yep.
you can't really dwell on it, I guess, is really what we came down to.
Right, right. You guys just have to keep figuring out how you can like grow constantly. And it seems like it's kind of just snowballing. Like it's just
Yeah.
kind of growing more and more, you know?
Yeah,
Like
it really is. We're actively looking for a tasting room now in
nice.
Syracuse. So we do plan on having some kind of a tasting room. It's just the amount of competition out in distribution has definitely been hard. I mean, we've luckily made a mark and had enough of a personality with our brand to like push us ahead of other people. But at the same time, like when you have a brand and you can invite people to your own space and sell them on you and your beers there, it's considerably easier. We feel like it would be much easier to be able to do that. That being said, we really still want to do the pop-up events and stuff, because the idea of the business was to help support other small businesses that can't do that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
we're going to
And
find a balance. I'm sure.
When you're trying to find a place, like, what are you looking for in the taste room? Are you just looking for like ideal location, or are you looking for a certain like square footage?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of that.
Yeah,
We have we don't want to take away from our heavy distribution spots either. So like
right.
we're really big with the guys over at Now and Later. They are really good to us over there, and we try to like service them as best we can. So for us to put a place over in Camillus just wouldn't make sense,
Yeah,
because it's just too close to home, and we
yeah,
don't want to do that to people. Um, we want to keep that strength of ours going, but at the same time, you're limited in upstate New York. There's population constraints. There's all those kind of things, and you could say that if you build it, they will come, all that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it helps if you're on 90.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, 1,000%. And
Yeah,
it seems like the growth of just the like the footprint of craft beer makers has grown like exponentially over the past few years. It
yep,
seems like it's a more growing business.
yeah. So I think over 9,000 in the nation now,
Oh
um,
wow.
small breweries, and in New York State alone, there's over 500. I'm pretty sure our license, when it was approved it was New Year's Eve when we got our SLA license, was the 500th license. So
Whoa. Holy
500
cow.
in the state, yeah, there's a lot
That's
in the state.
crazy. That's a lot of people.
Now, most of them are like brew pubs, right? So they're doing a couple of batches, and they have like a restaurant or something,
Yeah.
and it's like 50 barrels a year. It's not a lot. Um, but there still are a ton more popping up, and especially production breweries.
If you did a tasting room, would you also do a restaurant, or is that not what you're looking to get into?
If we did it, we've talked about this a little bit, and I have a bunch of friends that are in the industry we're talking to all the time. I think it would be probably like a ghost kitchen where we set up
Mm,
some kind of an empty kitchen and allow them to do food ordering and stuff and contract the space for them, because it's just not something that you need food, obviously.
right.
But you could do it with food trucks. You can do it with other things, and that's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Unless I meet someone who's like, I want to be your chef at your place, then I have no interest in trying to run a kitchen. It just doesn't meet with the stuff we're trying to do. I would rather give people a platform like we're trying to do with some of these other things to cook and do what they want to do in their own space so that they can build their own brand instead of trying to, do our thing.
Right, right. Wow, that's cool. It's such a really unique and interesting approach to the whole thing, because it seems like I'm not really a craft beer dude, to be honest. I don't really drink too much craft beer, but when I do, it seems like I'm in a restaurant that is also a brewery place. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like they
Sure.
already make the beer in the restaurant itself, not like a tasting room. I've been to Buried Acorn. That has a that's more of like a tasting room, I would say, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely more of that setting, I would say. I think of like entertainment, spots. Really, like they do a great job over at Buried Acorn and that stuff. They bring in like comedy shows, local comedy acts. They bring in local bands. They have all kinds of stuff, and then they're the sustenance to all that. So I say
Yeah,
it all the time, like social lubricant. That's really what it is.
right.
It's like with craft beer.
Yeah, just kidding. And it also seems to be like it's a good like word of mouth business, because
Oh
it
yeah,
seems like once you have a good beer, you tell your other buddy who likes craft beer, you need to have their grow thrive because that thing is amazing. And then it just kind of like starts to steamroll. You know what I mean?
yeah. And there's tons of like weird apps. Like it's almost like Yelp. There's Untapped. And
Mm,
it's a feedback source, which is, I think you were on it actually scrolling through the pages, where people will check in and they get badges. There's all kinds of stupid stuff, but really it's like a great feedback for brewers to kind of say like this worked well or this didn't work well or people perceived it well or whatever. And that's really like without having a tasting room, that is the only feedback we get unless we get emails, which we occasionally do. But
yeah. If you could like wave a magic wand and get like any piece of equipment or anything that like anything you would want that would help you with your beer, what would you do? What would you
uh,
want?
I'm happy with my production right now. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest. The tasting room is really key. Now there's like some licensing things that we need to change. So if I could wave a wand, I would probably have New York change some of their licensing structure, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
No,
So
dude, it's a nightmare. Did you have to like mail it in and like not even be able to
yeah.
check the status online? And
Well, luckily you could check the status, but it hung in limbo for. I mean, we actually got ours relatively quickly in about 8 months from last
mm,
year. But you're sitting there, and we have all this money invested in it at the time to get everything started, and it's like,
right.
so when are we gonna
Yeah,
get
right.
through?
Right. What was it like when those first cans rolled off and they were done and they were ready to be shipped out? Like, how did you feel?
Oh, it was incredible, honestly, because we've had, obviously I've made my own beers and stuff in the past, but it's different when it's like a representation of you, and it was
Mhm.
also a little terrifying because I took a
Yeah.
lot of risks with the beers that I'm making in terms of like from a production standpoint or creatively. That a lot of other brewers were like, "Don't do that." They
Like
pretty much
like
advised
what? What would be an example? Because I'm pretty
uh,
terrible.
like water chemistry things or a hop utilization thing. So like using way more hops than I probably should in a
Mm,
setting to
right.
get a certain kind of flavor, and it's it was something right at the beginning that a lot of brewers were kind of like dismissive of, honestly. And now after a couple of months and almost actually 3/4 of a year at this point, um, getting those things out there and moving consistently through these batches, I think people are looking a little more like, oh, what are you doing over there?
Yeah,
Which is
right, right.
really cool. But at the beginning, it was very nerve wracking. It was terrifying.
I bet. I especially when it's all of this like time and energy invested into launching a new business. It's like it's kind of nail biting because you're like, oh, I hope this goes well. This is a lot of time and effort. I really want this to do well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's one of the things that you just have to go with, though. We were confident in our ability, in each one of our abilities, to do our own part of the job to where it would be moderately successful. But
Mhm.
I don't think we thought we were going to be like one of the up and coming brands this year.
Right. Wow. With winning like you said medals, right?
Yeah. So the first brewer I was at, my first IPA, I got the gold medal for American
Whoa.
IPA. That was at Good Nature back in 2013. I want to say maybe 2014. And then I worked there for 2 or 3 years. I actually in 2017 tried to start a brewery in Syracuse. So that was nice to have an LLC framework kind of in place. But because of some engineering problems we had with the space that we were trying to get into at the time, it kind of all fell through. And it was like a year in planning between Good Nature and Three Brothers, where I was just like, I got to get back into brewing. Then
Yeah.
came into Warhorse, started making Lieutenant Dan IPA and all these
Lieutenant
other
Dan.
things that we do. Yeah, Lieutenant Dan. Uh, won gold medal again for the hazy IPA in
So
2019.
cool.
Yeah,
That's so
and then
bad.
which is like that's a big category too. So people luckily took notice of that kind of thing.
How many people were you going against?
I think there was, I want to say it was like 130 other breweries in that category or 130 other entries. It was a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot.
crazy.
And that's like the one. The hazy IPAs are the beers that really represent craft. I want to say 70% of craft beer is like IPA.
Yeah.
So if you're making good IPA, then people will kind of notice, you know.
I'm just picturing being the judge and like no matter how much you love beer, but having to like sip 130 beers and trying to
Yeah,
distinguish the fine notes between the two or
they
the
have.
130 has to be so fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, luckily, New York State Brewers Association, another plug here, they are awesome. Like they will go to bat and they have a staff of people that organize everything so well. So like they had tons and tons of judges for that and really broke it down pretty nicely. And they also gave you like scorecards and stuff for all your beers. So they gave some really good feedback in years prior of like this has this is this for you
Oh,
to kind of improve upon your stuff, which is cool.
dude, I didn't even know that that association existed.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
learning so much stuff about craft beer. I'm such a novice when it comes to all of this. You could tell me that craft beer is made with you stomping on wheat with your bare feet, and I'd be like, yeah, that's how wine's made. So yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, milking the oats, man.
Okay, so you don't have to give me like the full scientific process, but how does it start from like the very beginning to canned beer? What does that process look like?
Yeah, so there's four main ingredients to beer, and it's hops. We say malt, which is it could be barley, wheat, oats. There's a bunch of different kinds of cereal grains, hops, and then yeast. So essentially, you make kind of like oatmeal at the beginning of the process, and then you separate the water off of that, what we call mash, and it makes kind of like a sugar water. Um, Put it over to a hot vessel to sterilize it and add hops for bitterness. And then you do what's called the knockout process. Basically, that's just cooling down that like hoppy sugar water and sending it over to a fermentation vessel where you add that yeast. And that's where the magic happens. It consumes all that sugar, kicks off carbon dioxide, heat, some different flavors, builds alcohol. And then whatever the alcohol spec and the flavors you're trying to do for the beer, you adjust your hops, your cereal grain, grist ratio, all that kind of stuff. Goes through for like 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the kind of beer. Will condition and then gets transferred off of all that yeast and all that hops and other stuff that's in that tank. All the tanks, if you go to a brewery, are like shaped like that to drop off all the nasty stuff.
Mm.
And then they condition again, cold condition. You inject carbon dioxide, or build it naturally if you're doing like lagers and stuff, and it's ready for package. So it generally is like a 3 to 6 week process, depending on the beer for each beer.
That was gonna be my next question, was how long of a process that was. So 3 to 6 weeks.
Yep. Generally, now it depends on the alcohol spec and stuff like that. So like lower alcohol stuff, obviously, like it doesn't have as long a fermentation cycle, right? So it just goes through a little bit quicker than stuff like that. But yeah, there's tons of different things you can do. They have all these different degrees of malt. So like the darker malt, the more coffee character, chocolate, all that kind of stuff you're going to be trying to build off of it. And then there's, like you say, hops, but there's probably hundreds and hundreds of different varietals of hops, just like flowers, just like THC, marijuana, cannabis plants, all these kind of things. They're like close cousins. So they have different oil compositions that actually will put out different flavors. So
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. It's all very, very, it's just like cooking. It's spices,
Right. And when somebody says hops, I just imagine it's like a flower. It's like dandelion. Like there's not a big variation in the hops, but
Huge.
holy cow. I didn't realize that. It's like throughout the whole process though, it's like all these little fine adjustments you can make really like completely can change how a beer turns out, right?
Oh, yeah. You have no idea. I mean, every little thing, there's all these different species of yeast that produce different flavors and, all these different grains that you can use and all that, everything. You can build with four ingredients, like an entire array. It's so different than like winemaking. You brought up winemaking a little bit earlier. We're actually on the winery. But the process for winery is the grape varietal and the yeast. With beer, you can do the same four ingredients and just change like your water chemistry and make completely different beers. So there is that much small fine tuning going on.
Wow. That's
It's really
crazy.
cool. Yeah,
That is so cool. That is it's what you're doing is like it's chemistry.
kind
It's like
of. It's like cooking too. Like
yeah.
people, you don't have to have a master's in water chemistry or whatever to be able to brew beer. It's a very like I can do this at home on a stove.
Right. Yeah. And that's
So
that's
that's the
basically how
cool.
you had got started, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was doing like literally a 1 liter batch in bottle conditioning stuff. I had a little like air gun thing. It was all terrible. It was really bad, but
Well,
it was
it's
interesting enough
always
to start.
right. They always say like the first whatever you put out the first of is usually pretty dog shit, right? Your
Yeah,
first
yeah.
first
Oh,
batch of beer, your first painting that you ever do, your first
yeah, buddy.
podcast you ever do, it always turns out pretty shitty, but you get better at it every time, right? Because
That's right.
I know you're the type of person who is like, every time you do something, you're like, how can I refine it and get like a little better? Because that's how you were in college with those video production classes. I remember sitting in the room with you, that board that had so many knobs and
Yeah.
like all this like twisty things on it, and I was like, dude, this looks really good. And you're like, no, 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 we can do a little bit better. And you're like typing away like you're freaking like Elton John on the piano, like turning stuff.
Oh, man, it takes me back. You know, my wife does all our Instagram now too, and she does the reels, which is like such a necessary evil. But
Right,
I look at them, and I'm like, you gotta do it this way. Just
right.
because my OTC days, I'm like, no, that's a jump cut. You can't do that.
You can't do that. Are you
You can't
crazy?
do that.
Yeah,
And she's just like, just leave it alone. God, I'm like,
that's
all right.
the it is a necessary evil. Do you feel like the Instagram has really contributed to like your growth?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
I mean, it is free. I don't want to say free advertising because we put a lot of energy into it, but it
right,
is like sweat equity advertising. There's not a lot of other outlets really for craft beer advertising,
right,
um, because of the clientele. Like most people are the age of Instagram users,
right.
and that are into craft beer. So it's the number one thing for us. We're still looking for creative ways to do it. And I'm not a social media person per se. I mean, I'm on them kind of because we have to be, but I don't think we would have been able to get it out there nearly as much had we not put energy into the Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a necessary evil is a good way to put it because I contribute a lot of my business to social media, just like old friends that we've met at college or going to
Yeah.
a show with you and we bumped into somebody and we're Facebook friends forever and then they're like, "Hey, can you help me sell a house?" Like, "Okay, yeah, sure." So it's like it does suck the life out of you, but the potential to expand beyond kind of like your little network is crazy
Yeah.
potential with the reels and Instagram.
Yeah. And it's amazing like the all the information that they'll give you with a business account too of your reach and your engagement and all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
it's really is a good tool, especially to not pay a ton with doing it. So
Yeah, right. You don't really have to spend much money on these things. I mean, it's just your time, really, right?
yeah,
And maybe if you want to boost the post and do an ad, like you could drop some money
right,
on it and
right.
extend the reach a little bit, but you could have something pop off and go viral and have a bunch of views and your growth just kind of organically happens.
We went viral in Iran one day for a reel. We posted it like, yeah, dude, it was the craziest thing in the world.
Oh
It
my
was
god.
in like a 2 minute period. We had like 330 engagements, like all these comments. And it was just like, what is happening right now? Some way that the freaking algorithm bid on the stuff is just, it's wild. Um, we didn't retain any of those people, I don't think, for sales, but
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
the
think you're
only
in
funny thing is
for
the harder you work on a reel, and this is just, personal evidence, but the harder you work on it, the less people are going to give a shit about it. Because everyone that we've like really spent time with and like, oh yeah, I'm going to edit this through and like figure out the
Yeah.
perfect soundtrack choice or whatever audio, they've been dog shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, we waste. And then we'll like just take a video of like a beer across, and it'll
Yep.
be like 3,000 likes or
It makes
whatever. Like,
no sense. It makes
yeah,
no sense.
wow,
I think
so
they
funny.
do that shit on purpose. I think Instagram
I
knows
think
how
so
much you
too.
spend on it.
Yeah, I think so too. They're like in on the microphones and stuff anyway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Do you like with your growth now being like so exponentially large throughout over the course of just March that you started, right?
Yeah, yep. March 21st is our first day of business. Yep. We've
How
done
many other people are you looking to bring on board? I know you said earlier there was a couple people, but
yeah, we definitely we're being selective, honestly, because at this point we probably should have brought on more people with the amount of accounts in different regions we have and stuff like that, even just from a sales staff perspective. But we really want to bring on people who are going to represent the brand well. And it's we have a pretty wide vetting process for that. Um, and it's hard to hire in general right now. So
Right.
we need probably more people than we're going to be able to, and especially with the tasting room next year, we expect that to be a huge challenge. But you know, like every other challenge, you get through it.
Right, right. You guys just kind of figure it out. It's just kind of how to you own a business, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and needing to pivot in certain spots and all that kind of stuff.
Was there anything you weren't expecting when you started this beer company that kind of like hit you in the face?
Um, I, I mean, I've been involved enough in other people's businesses that where I kind of knew what to expect. I didn't think our production would need to be as much as it is at this point.
Yeah.
And then the art really is like most of the time, to be honest, because like I can brew a batch of beer in about 5.5 hours, and
Five
then
and a half
it's
hours.
yeah, I can knock out a batch of those big half kegs, right?
Oh,
Uh,
right.
so like 30 of those in I can produce in 5.5 hours. And I have to wait 3 weeks for it to be done, fermenting, conditioning, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't think I would have to be, you know, doing it so constantly. And the art part of it really is what takes up more of my time, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I don't think I expected that nearly as much.
Mhm. Is there with you always trying to like learn and kind of grow in the craft beer space, is there kind of like where do you find your information through? Like, is it mostly just you kind of like toying around in the kitchen? Is it maybe
Oh,
somebody on YouTube that you watch a lot of, or books that you read?
it started off as books. Now it becomes kind of just like process things that you play with and tinker
Hmm.
with. But certainly from collaboration is where all the creativity stems. I mean, we luckily have met a lot of people in the industry, and everyone has their own different ideas on how to do something. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So it's
Right.
interesting to like try and just take these different processes in that. And the cool part about the craft community is it's never, we always say like high tides raise all ships kind of thing. So like the more it booms, it's not like you're competing with all these guys. It's we're really all lifting each other. And we find that like the craft effect is pretty important. So having more craft breweries around each other is really helping to build the consumer base more because there's just more options. Now it'll probably eventually come to some kind of a bubble where you have too much in the region based on the amount of consumers that there are. But it has not happened yet. We said 8 years ago that it's going to come to a bubble when there was like 3,000 breweries in the country, and now we're 3 times that. So
Yeah.
really just talking to everyone else, like, what are you doing? Well, have you tried this? That's been how you play with stuff.
That's really cool that there's a sense of community with that stuff. It's really cool, and I really love when I hear like different businesses having like a sense of community with other businesses that are like minded that aren't like so competitive. You know, one I always think of is the that float tank that's here in Syracuse.
Oh yeah,
They I interviewed the old owner, David Brickman, and he had said there's like a float tank network across the United States where they all like help each other, and there's no like here there's no designated float tank mechanic, so it's like a lot of it is like, hey, I'm having this problem with the pump, what do you guys do? And it's like it's really nice that it's not so like cutthroaty, because I think that's a general impression when you see like two two craft brewers within 5 miles of each other. You know what I mean?
it's not like that at all. It really is not. I mean, there is certainly competition, and people will like stick to their brand. Like if they like just being at the space more, they might not even necessarily like the beer more than another place. It's like just a different thing for them. But it's the brewers themselves. Like I'm friends with all the guys in there. I'm friends with the guys at Heritage Hill, at Underground Beer Lab. Like we know everyone out there. It's never been like that, where it's a competition kind of thing.
Well, that just kind of like elevates. It's just like you said, it's like a rising tide rises all ships, right? Like you guys are all kind of just collaborating together to kind of help each other out. Do you ever do like collaborations with other brewing
I
companies?
did one on Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yep. Yeah. So with Underground Beer Lab, we just finished it Wednesday, and we're hoping to release it. There's actually a Central New York Craft Beer Week
Oh yeah.
from November 13th to 17th, where all the local businesses kind of bring in brewers for tastings and do special events. And then there's a Brewers Fest at the Landmark Theater on the 19th, I want to say, of November, 17th or 19th. Don't quote me on the date. But that week is like kind of a showcase of everyone locally, and we all get together and drink beers and hang out. And it's cool.
Oh wow, that's cool. It's just so refreshing to hear like a sense of overall community rather than just all you guys being so competitive and at each other's throats. I think that
So,
just kind of elevates the community, makes you guys work a little bit better, you know?
yeah, I mean, and everyone's kind of looking at all the other parts of, you know, society too when we're involving ourselves with beer, because it's just beer. Like, we're just drinking beers at the end of the day. So how
Right.
can we like add to other businesses or do kind of things like that? That's really what we're looking at, and what I know a lot of the guys in Syracuse are looking at too.
Well, that kind of fundamentally goes back to like the your pop-ups that you do, right? Like the idea is to help kind of elevate some other like small business. What kind of businesses do you go into when you're doing pop-ups?
We've done like garden centers. We've done
Oh,
pumpkin
nice.
patches. We're going to do a pop up at a Christmas tree farm um,
Nice.
all through November and December. So like every
Nice.
other, there's a couple of them we're going to be at. But yeah, so like you go, and instead of like what might be a slow trip at something, you know, where you're in and out, you're hanging out instead. It does cause more sales inevitably for the business that's hosting it. Like,
Yeah,
we've seen
right.
it every single time. So people have been really appreciative and receptive to getting us in to help them out. And it's tough to deal with the state liquor authority. A lot of people don't have the means or even know where to start with that kind of thing. So if someone can come in and say, you know, it opens up their audience more to, you know, whatever, more
Right.
people, they're going to be interested in trying to do it. And that's what we've seen, which has been great.
So you have to get like a 1-day pass or something?
Correct. Yeah. So there's a few different ways to do it. But in the case that we're setting up like a tasting room, a mini tasting room, pop-up tasting room, we essentially get a map of their usable area. We have to rope it off and then send it into the state liquor authority to get approved for a single day license. And we can do our beers, wine, cider, anything we want to do at that place for a day. And we could do that 4 times a year in any location. So we could, like, if I
Oh,
wanted to go to our friend Liz's plant shop, we already did it once this year. We could only do it 3 more times this year. So
mm, gotcha. Oh, so you can
pretty
only do it
cool.
4 times a year in one location.
Right. Yep.
Gotcha. But if you go to another place, then you have to apply for another one that's 4 for one location.
A lot of our time goes into licensing.
I bet. What do you have? So you submit the floor map to them of usable space, and they have to. How long does it take for them to like respond?
Generally, we'll get it in like 18 days.
Oh,
That's a timeline we give on it. A lot of the times you got to just give them a call and say, "Hey guys, you got this. You get this application."
right,
But
right.
as long as you're on it and you kind of, are on your T's and Q's and all that kind of stuff, and they push it through
What
pretty quick.
what do you hope growing a brew company is gonna do? Like, where do you see that, envision it in the next? We'll start like 3 years.
So my big thing has been trying to provide small businesses a place to, basically function like us. So my hope is that we can create kind of this like market bazaar almost at our brewery, where we can have different rotating small businesses come in and use it as a platform to sell their pottery, their paintings, their whatever, and use that as the beer is like why people are there hanging out, but give other people an option. And I think it just makes sense for a small business. I'm very small business, I don't know, active, I guess. I'm an activist for it.
Yeah,
I don't like the large chain restaurants and all that kind of stuff. I
yeah,
just think
right.
it's kind of garbage. It's not money that goes back into the community. And it sucks to see that that's where people are moving for stuff when there's so many awesome small businesses around.
Yeah, it's just like it's the sake of like convenience overall. It's just people will choose that big chain, and it's like you said. It's sad that the money doesn't like go back into the community because it sure as hell does not. It just ends up whatever profit they're making ends up in some CEO's pocket who's often freaking, I don't even know, California,
Yeah.
like it
Or,
doesn't get bring it back.
in craft beer, like, or beer in general, I guess, like everyone's putting their money into Budweiser. It's all ends up going into, Chinese community
Right.
for lack of, better term, but it's not going back into the places where it's being spent. So
So
that sucks.
3 years, you want to have like a cool. I like the
Yeah.
term bizarre. A bazaar sounds cool. It sounds like a.
The
I'm
market.
like the way I'm picturing is like cool tents and like everybody's like stacked
So
up. Throwing.
I will say that we have been close to nailing down a tasting room spot a couple of times now, and just been just far enough away. So perhaps you can help me in the right direction with that kind of thing. But we do want to have like a greenhouse tasting room to add to our kind of ambience. And it also is really important to have some good usable outdoor space for events, for things like that. And I
Right.
think it sets up for having like a mini marketplace, all the time.
Right.
So that's going to be kind of the progression of things for me anyway. And then we'll still have our distribution part of our business. We'll still probably be producing beer. Right now, we produce here at Three Brothers, as well as another brewery out in Albany. We're hoping to continue these relationships, and then also have a small pilot production space at wherever we do our tasting room. So
That'd be cool. That'd be really sweet. So 3 year. What about now? 10 year. So long term in the future. Where do you see you guys being?
um, that's very forward thinking of you, Cory.
Yeah, somebody asked me about that, about my business, and I was like, dude, I don't know. I don't think 10 years out. I think too small. I'm always just like, I don't know, just let me make it to next year.
Well, yeah, certainly it's, that's for sure one of the things on our mind right now. But craft beer has evolved in the 9 years that I've been in it. It has evolved so greatly, and like I don't even have the slightest idea where it could be, you know.
How has
So
it evolved? Is it just means of like easier production or just sheer amount of people involved in it?
I think that is really what it is the community has built so much that there's been so much just different recipes, different beers, different ways to distribute, different ways to, like, there's so many forward thinking people that are not me, looking at trying to innovate some of these things. And it's like, before it just seemed like it was all homebrew. It was everyone bringing their blonde ale. Now there's just so much in the room for ciders and all this different kind of crossover from wine communities. And you think about wine, from I think about it anyway all the time, because I'm on a winery probably, but 1700s to now, how much has that changed?
Yeah,
From
right.
And we're really in infantile stages of craft beer, because it's really started in the 70s, kind of had a big blow up in the 90s, and now we're in like this latent stage where it's just absolutely exploded. We're 4 times what we were 10 years ago. So in another 10 years, 40 times that, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Do
And
you
who
think
knows?
we're like in the renaissance of craft beer right now?
I think we're behind. How do I want to put this? There has been a renaissance in craft beer within the past 5 years.
Yeah.
But I think we're now getting to the point where the innovation is starting to stagnate to some degree. But I don't think it's because craft beer has like a lack of ideas. I think the consumer base is just looking for different things at this point. And a big part of that is White Claw, some of these other like low calorie,
Seltzers.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it has really changed the way that brewers need to think and pivoted some stuff. So definitely the new generation kind of coming into the fold, being more health conscious, has made us as the industry people need to kind of respect that, and look at doing things differently too. So that has been really the truncating thing there going on.
See, you
Like,
called me forward thinking, but that's very forward thinking because you right there, I feel like you could be on the cusp of something if you could learn how to make a craft seltzer.
they do it. There's people who do it.
That's great. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
feel like that could be Grow Brewing Company's thing,
Oh,
Like that could be your next flavor.
I mean, Cory, I wish I sent you beer. We'll have to do this again, and I'll actually give you some beers, and you can see some of the stuff. But
Yeah.
there are so many different things that you can do, and that you can market to people successfully now. That it's just like I can't even begin to think what it's going to be like in even 5 years, let alone 10.
Yeah. Wow. I love the idea. I have said this before with craft beer that I love, like, I forget the term for somebody who's like a wine enjoyer. There's like a term for it.
A
Um,
wine enjoyer or someone who is like well versed at the
yeah, well versed.
like sommelier.
A sommelier, dude.
Yeah.
I love that there's like craft beer sommeliers. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh
Like
yeah.
my friend Bernie, he loves his craft beer, and I have like no distinct flavors when it comes to beer. Like we've gone to uh, Bull and Finch in Destiny. We
Yep.
sat down. He's like, you got to have the Simulacrum. It is a great beer with these delicious hop notes that are just so fine. And like, then the lemon hits you at the end, and it's like just so refreshing. And I take a sip. I'm like, Bernie, it tastes like fucking beer, dude. What do you like?
So
I don't have the sense for that.
we bust chops a little bit too because you can see differences. There we call them cicerones. There's like actually a certification program like sommelier because that's what it is. It's like a certification
Oh,
to be.
Cicerone is the beer version.
Cicerone is the beer version of that, but we inevitably just make fun of it, because it's kind of like people pontificating. They're just sitting around like, oh, I get the garden hose in this water, and like,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here. It's not real. Just drink the stupid beer. So as much as I am really trying to like push the flavor components of our stuff, and we do a ton of cross with like cannabis flavors, not necessarily THC, active THC in the beer, because that would be super illegal, but
Right.
using like terpenes from cannabis plants to give different kind of flavor components and maybe harken back to an experience you had sitting around a fire in high school or whatever. Um, but that being said, at the end of the day, I am just drinking like a lager, and I'm just sitting around and not like talking about the effervescence of it all. So kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Listen, I try to respect it, but I just laugh sometimes because it's like
Well,
I
you
I
can.
appreciate that Bernie has the fine taste for that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
I just do not. I like my taste is not that well refined for beer. He also does drink a lot more craft beer than I do, so he probably can distinguish the
Sure.
differences between them, you know?
I think if I gave you a lineup of 4 beers, though, you could very easily say this is this, 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 and this, because you can
Yeah.
have so many different, like a stout. You know what I mean? Like Guinness
Yeah.
versus IPA. Obviously, those are two big ones, right? But those are like just two styles. There's like 45 different styles of beer that they have. So like smoked flavors and beers and sour flavors and beers and all these different kind of fruits and things. It's you can definitely play around with it so that
Is there a
people.
flavor you wanted to try that you haven't yet, or are you keeping that under your cap?
That's in my cap, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No cap.
Yeah.
We do primarily produce IPAs because of just the predominance of style and craft. That's what a lot of people are drinking. Starting to do more stouts. I love lager producers. Like the old German produced lagers are actually like that classic style is amazing. And it's having a little bit of resurgence in craft community. So like Pilsners and things like that are just seem like light beers when they produce them in Czech Republic and in Munich and all those kind of things. They're so much different than how we as Americans perceive, Pilsners.
Yeah.
So it's cool to like look at that stuff and hope that we can really produce those styles. But again, without a tasting room, like at some level, we are a business. So if 70% of the community is drinking IPAs, then we're probably just going to make IPAs.
Yeah, right,
we,
right.
we do need to sell beer to be able to do. I've done some cool stuff with like wine yeast and sour
Oh,
bacteria and all kinds of weird crossovers.
so
But
cool.
that stuff is very like it's tough to move, honestly, without having a tasting room to like try and sell people on. when you're up against all these other guys on the shelf, like they're just going to take the IPA 9 times out of 10, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, geez, that's what a really interesting approach. It's just man, I feel like I learned so much about craft because it's just a hobby or a career that I like just know literally zero about. I don't really
Yeah.
drink beer on the regular, but
Yeah.
when I do, it's not nearly as like I don't think of all the work that goes into that
Man.
can when you're drinking, you know what I mean? Especially start to finish. It's a very more intricate process than I would assume.
I mean, it's like anything, I think, like any career has all its intricacies, right? So
Right.
like, I don't think about the things that it takes in real estate. That's for sure.
Yeah, right.
It's just, I'm so detached from the world that it's like, yeah, I just want to buy a house. What do I do?
Yeah. What do I do? Please help,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Dude, this was awesome. It was great catching up with you and also learning a lot more about
Yeah,
your
man.
business. It's
Yeah.
dude, goddamn, what a pleasure. I miss you, Garrett. It's
I
good
miss you
talking to
too,
you
man.
again.
Cory the Mongoose.
The mongoose, baby. Next time you
That's
guys do
awesome.
a pop up, you'll have to let me know. Now that I got the dates and stuff in front of me, I'll have to swing through or at least pick up a 6-pack of beer. I got Sober October is ending for me here in just a few more days,
There
so
you
I
go,
gotta
man.
get something to
And
celebrate. I want to
gotta,
find the
the,
nearest
the
place.
holidays are coming up. So we're doing a hot cocoa imperial stout I'm releasing next week. So it's a
Okay.
marshmallow cocoa nib 8% stout. It's going to
Ooh,
hopefully taste a lot like a cold hot chocolate. So
ooh,
we'll have to
ooh! I'm
try it.
here for it. I'm
But
here for
also,
it.
we're going to be adding a bunch of events for Syracuse. We're doing a bunch of stuff at the Gear Factory, Little Room, all downtown, all of CNY Craft Beer Week. We're going to be all over the place. So just, at Grow Brewing Co. on all the stuff. Instagram.
And brewmaster.com.
Correct.
Hell yeah, dude! I appreciate you. You're the man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. I really
Dude, heck
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Anytime we're gonna do another one and we'll both just drink beer and you can help me distinguish the different notes.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna be drunk beforehand and just be
Yeah.
trash.
Can barely listen to the podcast. Garrett, what beer we're drinking?
Yeah. This is a beer.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Cory Cast. I really appreciate the time that you spent listening and even listening to the full episode to get you to this point. I just want to say I'm just so appreciative and so thankful that I have so much love and support for these episodes. If you want to be a guest on this podcast, reach out to me. I'm always looking for new people. Let's talk about what you're passionate about. Let's talk about your hobbies. Let's give you a positive platform to talk about the things that matter to you. Do me a favor, make sure you hit subscribe, like, follow, leave a review of the podcast. All those little things will help this podcast grow. Because without you guys, there is no podcast. And I am just so grateful that you're taking the time to listen to it today. Thank you so much.